Cut it first. Make a vertical line.
Basic mass-produced coffins line the street. Over the course of a few weeks, this scene has become normalized. Narrow works non-stop. Orders have been flying in thick and fast ever since the arrival of the B1351 COVID variant first discovered in South Africa.
There were times where we didn't have any orders. Sometimes we had just one order a day. But during this pandemic, there have been many, many orders. I'm not hiding the fact that sometimes we now receive 10 orders a day. On Friday, we even had 20 of them.
To cope with the influx of patients, hotels and schools have been transformed into hospitals. In this high school, all the ill are connected to respirators. Whenever there is a power cut or overheating, these machines switch off. In mid-April, a number of people died following one such power cut. Eugene has just lost his brother-in-law when one of the machines shut down. The corpse was disinfected and placed in a coffin in the high school courtyard. Burials must take place within 24 hours to avoid contamination. Behind the sadness, Eugene is furious at what he said was an appalling level of healthcare.
The oxygen stopped suddenly. I called a nurse, but he didn't give a damn, after I implored him to come to see our relative because he was suffering a lot. What is truly sad is the negligence. When we called the staff, they said that they were still on a break. Yesterday alone, 9 people died here.
9 people died in this high school alone in a single day, but officials claim that just 6 people died across the country. The family-run funeral parlor also doubts the official figures. Every day, the hearse is cleaned before hitting the road. The business is inundated with phone calls and sometimes has to turn down customers.
We have at least 2 COVID deaths every day, but sometimes as many as 4. Before we only did Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays because according to Malagasy tradition, we do not bury people on a Tuesday or Thursday. But at the moment we are doing it every day. From Monday to Sunday, there is always a burial. Oh yes, very shocked. What we are seeing in real life compared to the official figures is not the same.
For the authorities, the situation is under control. When asked about the credibility of his figures, the health minister loses his patience.
No, there are not deaths everywhere. I disagree. There are not deaths everywhere. You're describing something you haven't seen. There are deaths, I accept that. The number of deaths has increased. And maybe there are some deaths that we haven't seen, certainly. But it's not as bad as you're saying.
The capital's Municipal Hygiene Bureau, where deaths are registered, hasn't been this busy since the cholera epidemic that swept the country in 1999. There are no plans to build new hospitals in the capital, but 2 new cemeteries like this one are already filling up. The COVID variant discovered in South Africa hitting the country is 50% more contagious than the original.
We're seeing much more serious infections, which quickly become deadly, because they reach the small blood vessels of key organs. That's where the problem is with this variant, in the serious cases. It's unfortunate to see people dropping like flies because they believe they're used to having the flu and having headaches. It's staggering because these small blood vessels eventually block the arteries, and then there's no more circulation to the brain and to the heart, so you die.
The virus can quickly lead to fatal illness. Malagasy researchers predicted this a year ago. In response, the president-backed CVO+, a plant-based capsule with medicinal properties, flaunted as a miracle cure. But caught short with the second wave, the authorities are now calling desperately for vaccines to be imported. Before that can happen, ELYSA needs an ambulance with an oxygen supply for her brother.
He needs to have a scan, but unfortunately the health centre ambulance does not have any oxygen. A private ambulance costs €45. We don't have the means. Right now he needs a lot of tests, all of which are priced between €7.50 and €8.80. We don't have any more money to pay for an ambulance.
We are interrupted by the bus. The order has been given not to show this scene to journalists. Rationed oxygen, medicine shortages, overworked staff. It is difficult to see how Madagascar will cope against one of the most, if not the most, formidable COVID variant on the planet.